Here we go, boys. So, first thing I want to say is all of the lessons that you've learned and heard over your life, I'd say about 50% of them are good, 50% of them are about as much worth as what you paid for. Nothing. What that means is you have to be a sponge. You have to be able to take in information and discern what is worth it, what is not worth it. Thing is, you really don't know what's worth it, what's worth its weight in gold, what's salt, what's sugar. It comes with experience. So when discerning, the lessons to learn, what to do, what not to do, you definitely keep those things in mind. Like, save 10% of your income. Now, why do they say that? Well, if you save 10% of your income, what happens is you're not really affected, to be honest. I mean, you usually save a little bit of money, but 10% of your money, what that does is it breaks it down percentage-wise. Saving 10% of your income and never spending it unless you actually need it, what happens is you learn to live on less than you make. That's a life lesson. That's something that's worth its weight in gold, quite literally. When you are blessed to have a working body where you can earn money, or if you're lucky enough to get given money, putting some of that money away, what it does is when the rainy days come, you have the ability to make it through the rainy day. It's easy to spend the money all on, DoorDash and Madden coins and V-Bucks, all those things you can spend your money on. But as long as you've got at least 10% saved, when your tire goes flat, or when something you really, really, really want comes up, and you got to get it now, you got that 10% saved. So, I guess my first lesson would be save 10% of your income, as well as be a sponge. Now, what a sponge does is it soaks up a lot of stuff, but when you squeeze it and wring it out, it lets go of a lot of stuff too. So, you're not holding on to everything. You're just holding on to the good stuff. So, next thing. Reading. That's one of those things that they tell you to do, and you're like, I can do that later, or I don't need to do that. What's in a book? Well, funny enough for me, I learned that 99% of the questions that I had, the answers are in a book somewhere. Now, if you extrapolate that and you take that with a grain of salt, we're keeping that analogy. If you continue to read, what you notice are common themes that go from ancient text to modern day podcast to songs to movies, TV shows. You'll see these common threads that run through all of these text and media that you're consuming. And those lessons are repeated over and over again for a purpose. The purpose is for you to really understand and see the point of the lesson. And one of those lessons is focus on yourself, not other people. In the Bible, it talks about, why would you criticize your brother for the twig that he has when you have a log in your own eye? Basically, what that means is you need to focus on your own stuff. When you were in school, your teacher told you keep your eyes on your own paper. Now, You don't really need to be worrying about what the guy on Instagram does, what your friends got going on Snapchat, what people on YouTube are doing. You don't really need to do none of that. I mean, you can use YouTube for lessons and you can consume entertainment, but most of the time you really need to be working anyways. And another lesson that you learn is people are important. Relationships and community. I'll go back to my Bible example. The Bible talks about having a community when Jesus says, what is church? A church is a gathering of two or more in my name. Now, based on whatever you believe in, you don't have to believe in the Bible, but what that means is a community or a group of people is a lot better than being by yourself. Now, sometimes it's good to be alone. You gotta be a lone wolf. You gotta lock in. You gotta focus on getting your paper right. You gotta focus on getting your mental right. But long term and big picture, you kind of need that community. And, you know, sports teams. I mean, looking back on it, the best friends I've had and the best memories I've had have been from teammates that I've had where we're often doing mundane tasks. Like, you know, you're going to practice, you're going to get food after, you're going to a party, you're going to the casino, you're going to the cafeteria. Even little things like that, and just sitting there and making jokes and stuff like that, it kind of takes you out of, you know, whatever mental hole you're in, or whatever thing that you are focused on outside of the moment. It really brings you into the moment, and I think that's one of the best things about having a community. Let's see, some more themes from media that commonly get talked about. You probably heard this advice before, but when you're at the gas station, or you're at the bank, or you're at the grocery store, and you're actually dealing with a person, if you ask them how their day's going, or is it busy tonight, or how's your day going, there are a few responses that you'll get. One, you'll get, oh, everything's fine, and it's casual. You'll get an honest reply of, oh, it's really busy and I'm tired. Or a separate option where they could completely ignore you. The third option is rare. The second option is typically what happens and a normal response. When you ask someone how they're doing, it's kind of like peeling back the onion to their life. You know, it's personal. See, when you walk up and you say, hey, you know, I want a number 4, they kind of just treat it as a business interaction. But if you ask them, how's your night going, it breaks that seal of customer to business interaction, and you step into their life, and you actually, it makes it seem like you care about them. And I mean, you should. They're people. So that leads me to my point that these are actually people that you're dealing with. I mean, sometimes at the coffee shop, you ask someone, hey, how you're doing? They may say, oh, I just broke up with my boyfriend. That can lead you to a long conversation about, you know, guys and girls and how those things go on. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe now that she's single, you can talk to her. But my point is, once you break down that wall of consumer and product seller interaction, then you actually can talk to the person. And I think that's a great life skill, where you see more than just a face. You see like a light come into their eye when you or when they can tell that you actually care, or at least that you're putting off the idea that you care. And once again, I mean, you do that enough, you start to realize that that person that cut you off, they're just a person. Or your teacher that you don't like, they're just a person. They're a person just like me and you. They wake up in the morning, they put their pants on the exact same way. I recall in sports, one of the motivating things that they would say is the other team, they put their equipment on just like you. They wake up in the morning and they put their pads on just like you. They put their pants on just like you. They put their helmet on just like you. They're no different. They're not some completely different species where there's just no chance that you will win. They're just going to completely destroy you. Now, that might be the case, but if you go out there and the score is 0-0, you guys actually have a chance. Now, I say all that to say, we are people. All of us are people. I mean, and when I say we, I mean groups of I's. I, me, my. This is my car, you know, it's my shirt, these are my glasses, this is my phone, this is my camera, all those things, it's mine. And then when I talk about I, what does I really mean? If I told you to point to yourself when you say I, where would you point? You would probably point like right here somewhere to your chest, but your chest is not you. If I point to my arm and say this is my arm, and I chop off my arm, I would say, yes, that was my arm, but I am still me, even though my arm is gone. So the I is not in your arm. If you had your heart taken out and you weren't living anymore, this would just be your body. The thing that animates you and the thing that gives you life force, that is what is you. I am just this meat suit that you can see talking to you right now. The real thing inside me is something that you'll never see, and I will never see that for anyone else. So when you go to the grocery store and you see the lady who's been standing on her feet all day for 6 and a half, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, and you look at her in her eyes and you say, how's your day going? And you're actually sincere about it, you can see that animating spirit come out of her body through her eyes. She's not just some old lady that's sitting there scanning your groceries. She's a real person, and her I, or her actual self, will be able to communicate with you. So I think that's something you guys should take heed on, and, you know, maybe apply it next time you go to the bank or something, and you can actually connect with someone. When you're with your friends, you guys are doing things, you know, person to person, but when you feel a real connection to someone, it's not just your physical connection that you're feeling in a relationship. It's often not the physical that you're feeling. It's something deeper than that, and it's the animating spirit that is within you doing a dance with the other person's animating spirit, where you guys are going back and forth and flowing, and where one leads the other trails, and where one trails the other leads. You guys are blending your animating spirit to something higher. If anybody watching has any questions that they want me to answer, feel free to comment and I will answer your question.